of it because I literally filmed the cross and I filmed the remote, which is sitting in its case, zipped up and turned off. And I'm freaking out, on my cell phone video because of just like, how is this happening? How is this happening? I ended up running up the stairs to where Mayron was, and I woke him up, and I was like, "This house is haunted. The crosses are moving on their own now. We've messed with the spiritual energy here, and we need to leave." And he was like, "Well, I think sometimes when things are operated by radio frequency and remote controls, they can cause interference that make them spin or do whatever." And I was like, "I don't know, man." So. That one, I still don't really think we have full explanation for what happened there. That was really messed up.
I would have been out the door. I am not lying. I would have been like, I'm gone. I don't know about this, especially at 4 a.m. in the morning. So what about you guys? Something similar, or were you guys just kind of like, it's nothing,
I had something actually that I experienced along with one of the producers of film, Minna Brighton. We were both sleeping in bedrooms in the upstairs of the house. And our bedrooms faced each other, and the walls are very thin and the doors are thin. It's a lot different from the States. And so essentially from the bed that I was sleeping on, I looked forward, I could see a door, and there's a small hallway and a door right across from that to the other room. And one morning, I think it was the morning we had a day off, I'm just laying there, it's maybe 6, 7 in the morning, and I hear, our doors are both closed, so I hear the door opposite of my door or across from my door open, like with a creak. And then I hear what I thought was somebody walk down the stairs. And then as soon as that person got maybe 8, 10 steps down, the door to my room just crept open. And then I saw that the door on the other side was closed. And I remember like laughing to myself, just like, like that's weird. And I am a doubter. I don't believe in any of this stuff, right? And so then, I don't know, a half hour later or 20 minutes later, that door opens and Minna, who was sleeping there, just comes out and says, "Did you just walk down the stairs?" And I said, "No." And she's like, "I heard somebody walk down the stairs." And the two of us just had no idea what happened, but nobody saw anything. It was just this weird door, and there was something going on there, is all I have to say.
Well, I'll tell you what, like I said, out the door, I'm gone. Not playing around with that stuff.
Yep.
For sure. Okay, so my next question is for all of you, actually, because I'm sure you all have different perspectives. What was, I guess we'll start with Miran. What was your most challenging scene to film during production of Curse of Horror?
The most challenging scene, I think it had to be the scene when the beginning of the climactic scene, just after the earthquake, when Blanche comes to the house, and I don't know how much, I guess we're just spoiling everything here, right? Are we not worried about spoilers anywhere? But
don't give away all the spoilers.
I won't give it away. So effectively, there's a climactic sequence, which you guys have all seen the movie, and so you know what it is when Blanche comes to the house, and that scene is about 9 pages in the script. It's about 1/10 of the script. And we had to run it all as one continuous scene, essentially like a play. It's a 9-minute play that involved pretty much everything we had done up to that point in the film. Every single element. There were practical effects. There was like emotional extreme acting. There was going to be CG laid on top of certain things. There's multiple groups of people. So we had producers outside that were triggering people. There were people on walkie-talkies, and all of this had to play together when it's like 3 degrees outside at the same time, and we have an actor with their shirt off and all of this stuff, and the scene takes place inside and outside. And I was sort of terrified to shoot this scene for a few days before, like, how are we gonna get it done? What's gonna happen? We really only have one shot at it. A practical effect that was supposed to come in didn't come there in time, which meant that I had to rethink how I was going to do this particular effect. So all of that together really made it nerve-wracking. And we did the first take, which was just past the dry run. And I'm watching, actually, there's a scene where a cross spins on the wall. I'm actually sitting right behind that wall. I have nothing to do with the cross. I'm just sitting behind them watching everything play out. And having seen that, just seeing the first dry run, I remember jumping out with all the energy. I had like goosebumps, like the whole thing just felt fucking amazing. And I was like, okay, we're gonna be able to do this. And everyone's like, great, it's all good. I'm like, oh no, we're gonna do this like 9 more times. Like for sure, we had to do it. But that was the most challenging for me.
All right.
And not to mention he had an actor holding the camera. So
right. Yeah, I couldn't control that either. So
That's right.
All right. What about you, Lex? What was your most challenging scene?
That one might have been up there. There was a few that were very challenging from a holding the camera standpoint. In some respects, acting while having to film things and needing to hit certain marks kind of gets you out of your head, which can be a nice advantage. It's like giving an actor a bunch of laundry to fold while he says his lines. He's going to give a better performance in spite of himself because he's just not overthinking it. But those technical things like, okay, now we need to have, now we need to shoot Jordan on the floor. Now we need to go outside at this point. Now we want to pan this way. And now we have to say this line. Oh no, we react to this, not to that. And the camera should react to this, not to that. There are many different things like that. And since I'm not trained in that sort of thing, those were the things that I was most self-conscious of. And so I had to trust Mayron and others to tell me when things were not quite right or when things were going well. And so, you're putting your faith in other people. So I don't know that I had that much confidence in anything that I did until much later on. Those are probably the hardest things, the technical stuff. And any time that I messed up and then somebody else had to stand in the cold longer, I felt pretty bad about that. So.
I'll tell you what, I felt that cold through the screen. I was like, I could just see how cold it was for sure. What about you, Lana? What was your most challenging scene?
Yeah, I think for me, there were a lot of really challenging things, but I had actually really injured myself 2 days before we started shooting. So that knee injury that you see in the film, we actually had to write into the character last minute. That was some interesting hustle work that we didn't expect. And so there were a lot of, sort of, I guess, loose stunt scenes that were already planned for. And now we had to kind of figure out how to do that with me doing, having an injury. Essentially, I still ended up just having to kind of fight through it. So I would say that the physical stuff was actually probably the most challenging for me. I know there's a scene toward the end where Lex and I are running through the snow, and we had to do a number of takes. The lighting wasn't right. A bunch of things kept going wrong. And every time I had to run, of course, I've got the adrenaline, I'm acting, I'm in the moment, and you kind of forget, but then it would, kind of haunt me later that night where be like, oh my God, my knee is swollen. And there was 1 or 2 times where I think I actually did fall into this, as I was running, I just tripped and fell, but it didn't actually make my injury worse. It just sucked. So that was probably the most difficult thing.
I was wondering, were you really hurt during the film? And I was just like, oh, my husband has torn his ACL. So your ACL was really, you were really suffering from that injury?
Yeah, I actually tore my MCL, so slightly different. I think ACL is maybe a little bit worse from what I've heard, but yeah. I actually, it happened, so close to shooting. And I went to the emergency room the night that I fell that it happened. And they were like, here's a big old brace and, nothing's broken, but you're gonna need to come back in a week for like an MRI. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna be here. So I'll see you in a month when I get back from Canada. And so I kept the brace on and did everything I did through that. And when I got back, I ended up needing knee surgery and about 9 months of physical therapy. So,
oh my goodness, I watched my husband go through it, and it is rough. It is definitely rough. I was feeling for you. I was like, I hope this is not a real injury, because I can just imagine what she's going through right now, pain wise, even having to walk around on it for sure. So my last question before I hand it off to one of my co-hosts is, and this is kind of something we talked about earlier, and I thought this was a fun topic. I wanted to know from each of you, what is a horror movie character that creeps you out as kids that still creeps you out today? So any of you can start.
I just got to say, Linda Blair in The Exorcist is still the one that I can't even hear that music without being creeped out. It's the only one that consistently scares me. Michael Myers was always one also, but I've watched it more recently, and while I think it's a masterpiece, the original Halloween, it doesn't scare me as much as it used to. But The Exorcist continues to be the one that creeps me out. That face.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah. I still haven't gotten through the whole movie of The Exorcist, and I get heckled all the time. It is actually one of the few horror movies that really, truly terrifies me.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's an awesome movie though. I'm going
It
to
really is.
for sure. All right. Lex, what about you?
Jaws.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I'm done with oceans because of that. I don't mess around. There's too much stuff in there and sharks are chief among them. They're beautiful creatures. I love them. I will watch them from afar. I'm not going in the water. I'm good.
Can I just say something real quick about it? Jaws is truly one of the scariest movies ever written because everybody is scared of the ocean, probably because of Jaws.
Yeah. For sure.
And there might be some evolutionary reason, like this is the first thing that we were ever afraid of, and this is why we're on land now. Like this thing.
Where I'm staying too. Good. All right, Lana, who scared you as a kid that still creeps you out?
Oh, that still creeps me out. This one's maybe a little bit obscure, but it was the 90s television series that it was limited to the Stand, the Stephen King, The Stand from the 90s with Molly Ringwald in it and Rob Lowe. My sister made me watch it and I was way too young to see it. And it was honestly Trash Can Man.
Yeah.
In that movie has haunted me my entire life because he's like all like radiated and his skin is falling off and it's just getting worse throughout the whole film. He's like, my life for you. I mean, it was just like I could never unsee it. Like so scary. And I just watched the new series as well, and I was kind of like, I don't know, it didn't scare me as much as the original one. So I don't know.
I am a huge fan of the 90s TV movie The Stand for sure. And when you did the impression, that's perfect because I was just confused in my head already. Oh my goodness. I love these choices, guys. I had so much fun talking to all of you guys. I love the movie once again. I'm going to pass you off to my co-host, HorrO and Dexter, the skeleton over there. I'm sure they have some good questions for you.
Okay.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey.
I guess my first question comes from my friend here, and he wanted to know kind of why or when did you come up with the USB drive angle for the movie? Was that early on, or did you kind of throw that in later on because you wanted a further explanation for the found footage, or when and how did you put that together?
It was later. Like I think I want to say if I'm remembering this correctly, I didn't care how it was found. Like I was happy enough with the script as it was. And then at some point when we were pretty close. We had a first or second or third draft or something. And I think Lana, you're the one who started saying, how did we find this thing? Or how
we were on our location scouting trip.
Right.
You and so Mayron and myself, and then there is a real Kevin whose name is actually Kevin. And he's our producer that's been working with us for a long time. And we were all in Canada doing the location scouting trip 2 months before we shot. So we still didn't have a how is this found aspect yet. And I was trying to scare them one night because the two of them were really scared of everything in this house. And I was pulling up like creepy music on YouTube to like play from my room and like weird sounds to just scare them because that's what I do. And as I'm looking up scary stuff, this Casey Nolan dark web mystery box opening show comes up and I'm like, sort of immediately fascinated. I'm like, what is this? I need to know more. And I was kind of like, Mayron, oh my God, like this guy, maybe he what if he has a dark web mystery box and it's sort of like the stuff from our film and, let's.
Well, it started out as a guy like that. And then we actually ended up just getting him.
Right. We talked to him and he was super cool. He's like, yeah, send me a box. Let's do it. So there's actually an episode on his channel from many months. I think it's right around Halloween.
It was Halloween 2019. That he released that.
He opens up a box and it's all stuff from our film.
And the thing is, he doesn't necessarily know, like he's looking at that box. He doesn't know if this stuff is real or not. Those are real reactions when you watch that. He's opening it for the first time. We didn't plan, like he doesn't know what was going to be in the box. Like the beginning is real.
So he didn't see the movie either. You had done that.
He saw the movie before. Yeah.
We hadn't shot it yet at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that was really cool. It's really nice of him to do that.
Yeah. Very good.
Another question, since this is kind of found footage, I'm kind of curious how much stuff really stuck to script and how much stuff maybe was improvised, especially since the cast really seemed to come together, was really likable and seemed to really flow so nicely. Sometimes it didn't even seem like you guys were acting. It seemed like you guys were just in a natural environment. So I was just kind of curious how much stuff was really script or just you guys going with it.
I would say 95% scripted. Like most of the words are there, but these guys really made everything their own. For the most part, how I was acting as a director to help make that happen. I mean, it was them making that happen, but I would just watch it, and it was more like, does it feel like they're acting? Like that was what I was watching for. I was the first audience member, and I'm looking at, does it feel like they're just having a good time? Which is why we did do some of these 9, 10, 19 times, because it just needed to feel natural. So, yeah. But they had the freedom to change it if they wanted. It's just for the most part. Yeah. You guys want to speak to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a very collaborative environment. Part of my background is community theater type stuff, and I loved just coming together with a small group and making something. You don't really see that a lot in film because you shoot things out of order. You're only on set for a couple of days. But in this case, all of us were sequestered in 2 little houses and away from our families. So we basically were able to spend this time making art together, and it was coming together in a small group. And they were very collaborative, they were very collaborative, very open to ideas and things like that. So if he says 95%, I believe it. It didn't feel that way. They felt like my own words as I was saying them, and it felt like we had all the opportunity in the world to improvise. But I think that he's right, that if you look at the script and the final film, you'll see, wow, this matches it pretty closely.
Well, kind of speaking of that, I one of the reasons why I connected with you guys is through Instagram, and your Instagram account is full of behind the scenes and stuff like that. And I think there is something that kind of shows scripts to footage on there. I think you guys posted. You guys have so much of that content on there. Did you guys just end up with a lot of footage? Did you kind of know that you were going to do some behind the scenes stuff before? Where all a lot of this behind the scenes stuff coming from?
Well, Lana's been the spearheading, what we're going to put on there. But
yeah, we just have, just like any film, you have so much pre-roll and post-roll, and then there's just like moments when Miran just would pick up the camera and just start kind of shooting random stuff. We made sure that we shot, because our rehearsals mean one of the actors is operating the camera. That's part of the rehearsal, right? Is actually filming it. So we ended up with a lot of really great like rehearsal footage of the scenes that we later do, when it's actually time on the day. But yeah, that's just sort of the nature, I think, of what we were doing with the found footage and everything else. Like we ended up with a lot of content, and everybody says content is king. And I think with social media, it's really important to kind of be constantly sharing stuff and giving stuff to your viewers. And so we've got lots of it, loads of it.
Well, as someone who constantly pushes social media, I appreciate it. And I think I wish more movies. I know sometimes they release certain things, but you guys seem to be really, really pushed on a lot of pictures, a lot of things. Like I said, that whole reel there that was a really cool thing, pushing the script with the film there. It's really interesting to see, and I hope more films take that, because it's very interesting, especially when you like the film, especially with found footage.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I thank you guys for your time, and I'm gonna let Chris finish it off.
Hey guys, it's about time. I knew I was going last, and so I knew that my questions would have to be pretty obscure, or they would have been asked already.
Okay.
First of all, my wife's from North Carolina, so I'm very happy to see you guys. This is kind of weird. We're talking about cultists, we're talking about crucifixes that do funny things, earthquakes in places there shouldn't be earthquakes, strange people in town, maybe Satanists, maybe ghosts, maybe who knows what. But this is kind of weird. And I know it only happened 2 days before shooting, Lana, but you injured your ligament in your knee. And it was very fitting, because maybe the three of you could speak to this because it concerns all of you. I picked right up on, and it's not irrelevant to the rest of the story, the relationship between Lex, Lena, and Kevin. Great friends for years, make movies together, had big dreams. And you get the sense early on that doubt is starting to come back in to you guys. You know you can do it. You know you have the talent. You don't know if you'll get the chance. You don't know if you'll get the opportunity. And maybe you're starting to think this is just not going to happen. And Lana's communication to LA, to Lex and Kevin, hey, come up here. I got this great movie that we could do, had more to do with getting the three of you back together with energy you once had to maybe rekindle it. And
Sounds like Lana.
Yeah, and I thought that was brilliant, because what's going to happen to the three of you is not going to help foster kumbaya between you. The relationship between the three guys, I just thought it was brilliant. Am I just seeing something that isn't there, or was this an integral part of the movie and the other stuff just sort of built on it?
That's the way I look at it, for sure. Like when I was writing, when we were writing together, for me, the movie, I don't even really think of it as a horror film, even though it is. And it was important to stick to genre as much as we could. But for me, the strength was I want to tell a character piece about these people. Like, I don't want to make a schlocky horror film. I want to make something that actually resonates with people, because the experiences they're going through are things people can relate to, whether people are trying to become accountants or movie makers or singers or whatever. That struggles is universal, whatever it is. And the bringing of people together is also something that can strike as universal. So that was the important thing. It wasn't the horror, but the fact that the horror was creeping up, it could almost be metaphorical for the fact that the future is coming at them, and what are they going to be able to do in the future if this doesn't work?
Right. And Lex and Lena, I mean, we were just waiting for you, Lex. Just grab her in your arms and tell her that you love her. And we knew you weren't going to do that, because we could see the fear in you that maybe the lack of success over the last 10 years, you automatically figured it would be a failed effort. Even though as a viewer, we sort of figured Lena may have had the same type of feelings toward you. Am I reading that right? Or, was that a deleted scene when you did grab her and
Yeah, that's the
No.
5% we did improvise.
Exactly.
All of that subtext was in the script, and it was meant to be subtext. It was meant to be part of the character relationships, and I think like Maron was saying, you have to care about the characters, and I think one of the most important elements of horror, or almost any genre, is getting the characters to a place where the audience and each other want to spend time with each other. And so no matter what happens to them, whether you put them in danger, whether nothing happens, you got to make sure that people want to spend time with them. And the relationship subtext, some of those things were there in the first version of the script I read. I remember when you did injure your leg, you had a new script within, what was it, like 2 days? Was it? The revised, like, okay, now Alex is driving.
And that was it was actually a great option. The fact that Alex was driving, because it allowed us to get Lana on camera more, and then it also allowed us to get you on camera more. Like it really rearranged who held the camera, which is actually really helpful.
Yeah.
And him as a control freak, it added to the added that part of his character.
Yeah, one wild question that's not really relevant to anything, but I'm so curious. Lana, you've been up there. This is your family's house. Presumably, people knew you around there. When you knocked on your neighbor's door and said, "Hey, I'd like to use images of your house in a movie," and they said, "Oh yeah, sure. What like what?" Did you say, "Well, I want these Satanist cult members who want to take one in the morning"? How did that conversation go?
It went a lot easier than you might think. Saint Sophie de Livrard, which is the town where my family's cottage is next to Fort Dearville, where Aurora passed away. It's really small. I think the population is like 800 right now. And it's predominantly elderly. Like there's not younger, newer families moving in. And so there's just not much going on in town. And I think that the fact that like we were coming in, I have the familial attachment, so they kind of trusted me. They know my mom, and they were like, okay, she's not gonna be too weird on us. But then we gave them something to do. And we filmed 2 months before COVID hit. So it was like perfect timing. And essentially we were able to use it. There was like a woman's sorority in town that the neighbor actually belongs to. And she's a hairdresser. She has a little barbershop in the back of her house. And she's the only hairstylist in town. And she knows everybody because she cuts all 800 people's hair. And she has this sorority. And just as soon as we told her, we're like, could you do this? And she speaks French pretty much only, and I don't, just like my character, I'm really terrible at it. And our co-producer Minna, she's English Canadian, but she speaks French very well. So she was our translator. And so she went to the lady next door and she basically said, what if you're kind of our extras coordinator? You call your friends and you organize your sorority and tell them we'll give them hot chocolate and snacks, and maybe they can be held in your house while we're waiting for them. And then we call them on, and she was totally on board and got people excited. And we ended up having really incredible cooperation from the townsfolk of St. Sophie. The mayor is like our best friend of the project. He had access to the church, to houses that we were able to film in. He gave us like the golden key to the city. He was amazing and was even in it. He's a cultist at the end. And so, yeah, it was awesome. And even though we couldn't really communicate with all them at the end, when we finished that crazy scene, don't want to give too much away, but they were giving us hugs and saying, bonne expérience, great experience in French. And we were just like, oh my God, this is so cool. It was honestly a really positive, loving, good energy kind of experience.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that it was in Canada. I been to Canada a lot, and I was in it just before the lockdowns myself. But I got to say, the tarot card scene was wonderful. I wish I had seen that scene many years ago. I didn't realize you could draw 3 death cards.
You can't.
It's priceless.
You can't, exactly.
And you can't, yeah, because I know that because when I was an FBI agent, I always like to, sometimes you'd go into interviews and you wanted to unsettle them. And so there were a couple of occasions when I pulled out the tarot deck and drew it down. And they're like, what the heck? It's FBI agent with a tarot card. And I always made sure the death card was drawn, and the Supreme Court probably would have ruled it cruel and unusual, but they weren't under arrest, so they didn't have the rights they thought they had. But yeah, you can't. I know that for a fact because I've had them. You cannot draw 3 death cards. And that was just classic. I got to give you guys a lot of credit for that.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. An FBI agent using a tarot cards to interrogate?
So I could tell you stories. Yes. No, interview.
No. I'm just wondering, would this be how is that a horror theme right there?
Yeah, that should be a movie right there.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but I'm actually in Silence of the Lambs.
No.
When I reported to Quantico in 1990, they were filming it. And
how cool.
Yeah, they came into our classroom and they had the boom, and they needed classroom sound effects for when Jodie Foster was in class as a new agent trainee. And so when you hear the sound effects, that's us. So I didn't get a SAG card because of it. Not on IMDb, but
well, I think that's one of my all-time favorite horror films. So kudos.
Well, if I had known that and we were doing the show 6 or more years ago, I would have invited you down. I would have showed you around. You would have recognized the place because it hasn't changed since they filmed that movie.
Wow.
Very cool.
So thank you guys so much. I look forward to the next work.
Absolutely.
And, I'll hand it back to Ken. Maybe you guys can do Nova Scotia and Newfoundland next.
Yeah.
All right. So we get our revenge on all the filmmakers and writers and actors and directors that come on to our show with the Deathly 13. Now, the Deathly 13 is our horror trivia challenge. It's 13 questions that are so random that only Muse knows the answers to. She knows the question. She's going to ask them. So here's how we play. You get 3 lifelines. You get actually more than 3 lifelines. You can ask HorrO, myself, or Chris for help at any time. Just one time for each person. You can ask for multiple choice as a group. You can ask to postpone the question as well, only once. So those are your lifelines there. The 13th question is worth 2 points. So you could potentially go 14 for 13. Okay. So yeah, Muse, take it away. Knock 'em dead.
All right. I always ask this before we get started. Do you guys have any questions before we jump
Look at Lana. She's scared.
I'm like, if I had a beard, I would be like touching it right now. I'm like,
Yeah. I just want like a plunger buzzer so I could just sort of chime in.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we need to do something like that. I know we need a buzzer, kind of like a.
I didn't come here to win. I came here to make friends. So
It's all in fun. So as long as we're all having fun, that's all that matters to me. All right. So if everybody's ready, we'll jump right into it with the first question. All right. You guys mentioned Halloween earlier. So we know that Jamie Lee Curtis is quite a scream queen. She's done quite a few horror movies. And I'm going to refer to one of her other horror movies and ask you, Jamie Lee Curtis starred in which 80s thriller horror about a killer she unmasks on the dance floor?
Oh, okay.
Is there a timer on these?
No. Oh, I mean, obviously, we're not gonna.
Yeah.
We're not gonna stare at each other for 5 minutes.
should we guess, or do we?
You can guess. You can all agree on an answer. Or you can pick Chris. Chris is jumping out of the seat because he knows it.
Yeah.
It's called something like Prom Night. I don't remember.
That is it.
That's it. That's it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if you're confident and you know it, just say it.
Okay.
And then if your team shoots you down, we'll wait for you guys to settle on an answer. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah.
thanks, Lex.
Yeah.
We're competing as a team?
Yeah, you guys have to get 13 together.
Okay, we're on each other's side.
All right.
Okay, we love Lex. Good job, Lex.
Full
I thought I was gonna
participation
crush
though.
those guys.
All right. Question 2. We're going a little more recent now. We did the 80s. We're going to fast forward to 2007 and the movie Dead Silence. Who is the dead ventriloquist who cuts out people's tongues when they scream? I give you a hint. She's a woman. So there's your hint.
I have not seen this movie.
I have
You
not
guys?
seen this movie.
This is a good one. Yeah, I would definitely check this
You
one
said
out.
it's Dead Silent?
Called Dead Silence from 2007.
Dead Silence.
You know, I'm
actor's name
definitely
or-
Googling this right now.
Don't tell us.
I'm gonna ask for help from one of these guys. So are we asking for the character name or the actor name?
The character.
Oh, I see. Well then no. I'm lost.
I definitely think Omar might know this one.
I don't think he does.
Really?
Does he?
No.
Oh, he knows it. He knows it. Wait, do you guys want to
wait,
use Omar? Do you guys want to use Omar for your lifeline?
I guess so. I would
I
say
don't-
so. What do you guys say?
I
I
don't know.
This is only question number 2. We have 13
know.
today.
You'll be fine. They get easier as they go.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
I say we take the lifeline. What do you think, guys?
Do it.
All right.
All right, it's Mary Shaw.
That is right. It is Mary Shaw. All right.
Huh.
All right. Question 3.
We're gonna get crushed.
You guys are doing good. Okay, so this is kind of like a little bit of a bonus because the way the question was written up, it's multiple choice anyways, so you don't got to burn one of your lifelines.
Right?
So for question 3, I'm going to ask you, how many years after the original film was Psycho 2 produced? 3, 13, or 23?
I know this.
All right, go ahead.
23.
It was 23. All
Oh.
right.
I saw that one at the theaters. I remember seeing Psycho 2.
Yes, love
Yeah.
that. It's a fantastic sequel. One of
Yeah.
my
I'm too young.
Yeah. It was sort of like
I'm
a
gonna go with it.
Vertigo kind of remake. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Definitely a great movie. All right. Question 4. What is the name of the disembodied hand in the Addams Family?
Easy.
Well, now you got to say it, Lana.
Say it.
That's Thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Awesome. All right.
All right.
Yay, team.
4 for 4.
All right. Question 5. Going back to the 90s on this one. In the film, in the film, I Know What You Did Last Summer, we also know there was a sequel a few years later. So I'm going to ask you, who actually reprised their role from 1997's I Know What You Did Last Summer and came back in the sequel? I Still Know What You Did Last Summer in 1998. So yeah, it was like a year later.
I think I know the
It
answer
was
to that.
probably her, wasn't it? It was
Jennifer Love
probably
Hewitt,
Jennifer
right?
Hewitt.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's one more person that came back.
Huh.
Was it a female too?
No.
Okay.
It wasn't
Was
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Jr.
Was it him? I
Yes.
can't remember.
It was.
Yeah, her boyfriend. Yep.
All right.
Boyfriend, played by Freddie Prinze Jr. I cannot think of his name for some. Gosh.
Freddie Prinze Jr. That's his name.
That's
That's his
that's
name.
Yeah. You got to say it all together. You can't just say Freddie.
It's a very good name.
Yes, I had
FKJ.
a crush on him too. Oh, definitely. All right. Question 6. What Keanu Reeves film starred Al Pacino as a devilish lawyer?
I know that.
Devil's Advocate. Oh.
Devil's Advocate.
Yes, Devil's Advocate. All right. All right. Question 7. So Ken is going to love this question because we were actually talking about this, I think, a week or so ago.
Okay.
Who played the obsessive stalker Alex Forrest, who boiled a pet rabbit in Fatal Attraction from 19?
Glenn Close.
Glenn Close.
Close.
Glenn Close. All
Yeah.
right.
He was nuts.
Yes.
Yes, he was.
Nuts.
That shit crazy. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Question 8. This is another multiple choice because it was kind of like, written that way. This is going back real far, 1940s. The 1940s comedy duo Abbott and Costello met many classic monsters in the Abbott and Costello movies. So in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein from 1948, who did they not encounter? Dracula, the creature from the Black Lagoon, or the Invisible Man? Who did they not encounter or meet?
I want to say it's the Invisible Man, but I don't know.
No, that's not your final answer.
I didn't know.
Chris is raising his hand if you want to use him.
Go
Chris,
ahead.
Chris the Creature.
It's from the Black Lagoon.
Yes, it was Creature from the Black Lagoon. So kind of an interesting little side note, though. I think they later met him on a TV episode, but not in that movie. So that's kind of a cool little side note. All right.
That's cool.
Question 9. This isn't really horror, but I had to throw it in here because it's Nicolas Cage and I love him and he's nuts and I love his stuff. So
Con Air.
The answer is always Con Air.
Caught in 60 seconds.
What
Raising
is the
Arizona.
name? What is the name of the comic book demon Ghost Rider's alter ego who Nicolas Cage portrays in 2 films?
Johnny Blaze.
Oh, nice.
Bravo.
All right, Ken thought he was going to get in there on
I
that.
thought.
All right, so this is kind of a really interesting little a trivia question. I did not know this, but for question 10, which American inventor produced the first Frankenstein film, which ran only 14 minutes? Now, this would be before the Universal one, I believe.
What year did you say? Did you
No,
say?
which American inventor?
Yeah,
I
she
think I
didn't
know
say-
it.
I mean, I have a guess, but
Yeah.
probably Thomas Edison, right?
Yes.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah.
Thomas Edison. Yeah. Electricity plays a huge part in
Yeah.
the movie. That would make sense for sure. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's very cool.
All right. Question 11. The films Willard from 1971 and its sequel Ben from 1972 both featured young men with what type of unusual killer pets?
Rats.
Yes, rats. Definitely. I love all animals, so I didn't think it was that bad. I know my husband's like definitely afraid of them, but
I'm dying.
yeah, I know. He's over here. It's got red eyes. I don't care. But they're awesome. All right. Question 12. All right. This is interesting. This is something else I didn't know. In some handy stunt casting, who supplied the voice for the hand in the 1990s film Idle Hands? I need to go back and rewatch this because I do not remember this at all.
You got to give. Remember, you guys got a multiple choice too.
Yep.
Oh, we can choose this to be a multiple choice?
Yes.
I don't know if it'll help me. I mean, I know the way Jessica Alba was in that, wasn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I can't think of who did the voice of the hand. Well, do you want to take a multiple choice on this, guys?
Do we still have that as an option?
You do. You have me and multiple choice, and I would pick that you pick multiple choice.
All right.
I can give you if that doesn't help
If he
you.
doesn't know. Yeah.
We'll take multiple choice.
Yeah.
Can we
Okay.
ask Muse for the answer?
No. she'd probably give it to you, not realizing it either.
I gotta make sure I don't say it in the question. Like some of these questions are tricky. All right. So the multiple choice. Here we go. Was it Robert Englund, Kane Hodder, or Tom Savini?
God.
Ooh.
I feel like if I was casting that role, I would choose Robert Englund because of the symbolism with the hand.
Yes. Yep.
And it was
Yes,
very
I'll go
British
with
hand.
Robert Englund. Yeah.
It is.
Good
It's
job, Mayron. Damn.
Yes. All right.
All right, last question worth 2 points. You guys can go 14 for 13, and you still have me as a lifeline.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Last question. Juno creator Diablo Cody wrote which film that starred Megan Fox as a demonically possessed cheerleader?
Jennifer's Body.
Yes.
Nice.
Great. Yes. Absolutely.
Wow, well done. This is 2 weeks in a row, Muse, that they've gone 14 for 13 on you. You better up your game.
They did great.
Yeah.
It started off really difficult for me, but yeah,
Well,
Ken was right. They got easier as they went along, I
they
guess.
definitely did.
well, listen, this is our opportunity that we'd like to give you guys to talk about what you're working on next, what we can expect in the future, and where we can find you on social media. So, Lex, let's start with you, and you can pass it to the next person.
Sure. The other big acting thing that I've been doing, in fact, I had one COVID safe shoot day in the last year on it, is a mockumentary series called .org, DOTORG. And, mockumentary and found footage have a lot of the same roots. It's combined, it's almost the newest film genre, I think. I haven't really explored that too much, but I'm fascinated by it. It's more of a comedy thing, and you can find that online. I'm mainly a writer, and I've been doing a comic book series called Starweed, one word, and we'll be kickstarting the second book pretty soon. You can find me Twitter, probably is the easiest thing, Alexotica, ALEXOTICA, or LexWilson.com.
All right, Meron, what about you?
So I am in the process of writing a couple of things with Lana right now. And I can be reached on social media with @MayronTergoli on Instagram. I think you could just search Mayron Tergoli anywhere, mayrontergoli.com, or what's the other one? Instagram.com/Mayron Tergoli. Yeah. I'm trying to think I think I have a different address for one of those, but yeah, it's just pretty much my name everywhere.
He's just like, just Google me.
Just to Google it. Put it in the Google.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's not a lot of people with the same name out there. So.
One of us.
Horror movies. Yeah.
One of us three is really good at social media. Let's see if you can guess who it is.
I'm going to guess Meron. I don't know.
Oh, no.
No.
We have one more person you have to hear from.
Yeah,
Multiple choice.
you can find out probably a lot more about Mayron if you actually go to the Curse of Aurora page.
Yes, I think so.
So right now, if you want to, look at what we're doing with Curse of Aurora, a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So we're at Curse of Aurora, Twitter, Insta, and Facebook. Keeps it easy for everybody. And Mayron and I actually had finished working on a film for about 4 years, right before we started shooting Curse of Aurora. And that is a mockumentary that is set to come out within the next few months. We're very, very excited about that. And it's a comedy mockumentary, so very different from what we did here. But we do have 2 different ideas kind of in the works. We are talking about a sequel to Curse of Aurora. We've had just a lot of really good feedback, and a lot of people seem to be itching for it. So we're starting to put together some ideas now that could be really interesting. And then we have another non-found footage, just cinematic horror that we'd like to do here in the Appalachian Mountains.
And where can we find you on social media?
Me personally, I'm on all of them, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Lana B or at Lana Barron with 2 L's. Or again, just follow all of our Curse of Aurora pages and you'll see us bouncing in and out of there, talking to people and stuff. So.
Well, listen, on behalf of all of us here at Where the Scary Things Are, Alex, Meron, and Lana, thank you so much for the film Curse of Aurora. Where can we find it and watch it?
Lana?
Currently it's available on iTunes, Prime Video, YouTube, Vudu, Xbox, PlayStation.
Nice.
If you do Hoopla, which is library DVD rentals, you can do that through there as well. If you have DirecTV or Dish on demand, you can find us there as well.
Voodoo,
Fandango
Fandango.
now.
Yeah.
And I think there's a few others. And then our DVD is currently available through Walmart.com, BarnesandNoble.com, BestBuy.com, and Amazon.com. But a little tip for those of you who like to buy DVDs, the Walmart.com delivery is like way faster shipping than any of the other sources. So I would recommend getting it from Walmart.
We can't figure why it's so much faster. But
Yeah, we don't know why, but we're happy. Thank you, Walmart.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, listen, thank you so much, you guys. You guys have a great rest of your evening, and we'll talk to you soon. Best of luck to you guys. Keep it scary.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Actually, before we go, can
Yep.
we? I want to send a little something to Chris. Can you see this with my weird background? This is a death card.
Yes.
There we go. If I put it like right in front of me, it works.
I got my own as well. I've used it many times.
Oh, you're going
I don't
dark.
know if people or not, but oh yes. Oh, keep those. Breaks the ice at parties.
There you
And from guys' points of view, great way to pick up chicks. I can tell you
Oh,
that.
all right.
Well, but seriously though, Chris, if you want to reach out to us and send us your address, we will send you a death card from the film.
Oh,
That is
thank
rad.
you.
Thank you guys so much. You guys have a great night.
All right. Thank you guys.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.